We're starting off with a very simple question. I like it. I mean, I'd say one of the things that we really wanted to talk about in this movie is the fact that we rush to judgment on people, and we kind of only see one side and assume that's their full selves. And so I think for us going through, it's certainly within your family, we don't always see our family as clearly as we should. We sort of keep them pigeonholed. And then likewise, our families don't always know us, but that also, I think, extends to our friends, our community, and beyond. So I think for all of us, it was really important to tell a story where it's all about asking questions, trying to see someone differently, trying to know them better, and then to be vulnerable enough to show yourself as well. So I think it's a great conversation to start anytime in the world, but I think this now is kind of the perfect time for us to try to understand each other better.
Well, I think, the message in the film, the initial question we ask is really, how well do we know our family and how well do they know us? And so really what this film, and we hope people walk away and really are able to look beyond what they just see. I think so many times we just, I know what I know about my family, and that's what I assume about them, but without really taking the time to talk to them and understanding that even though, we grew up in the same house together, or we are this community of friends together, we may have gone through the same experience, but they may have a very different perspective and vision of that. And so really encouraging people to talk and really try to find a deeper understanding of each other.
So I think as we were developing all the characters in this family, first of all, we always knew that we wanted to make it a big, multi-generational family. That was really important from the very beginning. And then as we just started to develop the individual characters, we were leaning into this tradition of magical realism. And so we thought, how can we kind of start with these familiar, grounded character archetypes within a family, like the strong, dependable one, or the golden child, or the dramatic theater kid kind of character, or and then make those magical and make them fun and vibrant. So obviously the strong, dependable child turned into literally the strongest child in Luisa, or the perfect golden child turned into a character who's blooms flowers and can do no wrong in Isabella, and this dramatic theater kid became Camilo, the shapeshifter. So it was all really starting with these archetypes that we can recognize in our own families probably, and then making them magic and blowing out the top of it.
There were a couple powers that did not make it during the vetting process. We were trying to figure out what to go. There was one, we thought some people in families are the life of the party. So we had party guy who would come into a room and balloons would suddenly appear behind him, and we're like, that lasted for about a week, and we threw that out very quickly. So, but it's like what Cherise said, the more relatable and universal those roles that's more when the movie really lit up. That made sense with the magic, because the movie is definitely inspired by magical realism and the storytelling style of that. So linking those roles to emotion and to your personal magic was very, very important for the film.
I'd say I'm looking at you now. You have very, very nice facial hair, which I can't grow. So I would like the power to be able to grow a good-looking beard and not a creepy beard, which is all I can manage. So that's what I would go with.
I always go to fly. I'm terrified of heights, but I would love to fly. So that's the irony. But I would love to be able to fly around and just
you asked about characters who we ended up not having in the movie. One of the ideas was someone who could divide themselves and have basically clones of themselves, many different people. And as a working mom of a 3-year-old, I wish I had about 4 of myself. So.
There is something changing, I think, at Disney. I think we are understanding deeply the impact these movies have around the world, and that our audience wants to see themselves reflected in the films. and that's an important thing to think about. Now, it's not a directive from the standpoint that it still has to be a story the directors want to tell, because these journeys are 5 years in the making, right? An animated film is 5 years, so it has to be a story that inside you really want to tell. So in the case of Encanto, it really was Byron Howard and Jared Bush, who had worked on Zootopia, wanting to do a musical together. Jared Bush was working with Lin-Manuel Miranda on Moana and said, Lin, we want you to join on this project. The three came together and said, what is the story we want to tell? And it started with family. And Lin said, and I want to set that story in Latin America. And then they said, where in Latin America? And then we started to do some research, and we knew some filmmakers who were from Colombia, and we were meeting with them, and they said, come see our country and let us share it with you. And they fell in love. So it wasn't somebody saying, tell a story in Latin America or in Colombia at all. It was literally the right people coming together saying, this is what we want to do, and then discovering it through it. But what I'm so proud of is that in the end, when you make a movie that is representative of our audience and people see themselves reflected in it, it has an impact. You know, I was telling the story earlier about at the premiere. There was a 16-year-old boy from Colombia who came up and said, you have no idea how important this movie is to me, to see myself and to see my culture on the screen in such a beautiful way, because Colombia is not always portrayed in such a beautiful way. And when I have kids, this kid was 16, when I have kids, I want to share this movie with my kids. That's impactful. That reminds you of what you can and need to and should do in your storytelling.
So.
Yeah, I think, as we had mentioned, like Lin-Manuel, having them on from the very beginning was such a gift, because we typically don't bring our songwriters on that early. And so he was really involved with the creation of the story from very early on. And to your point of having these songs stuck in my head, really it's whatever song I hear last from the film is what's stuck in my head for the rest of that day. And it was exciting because we really we met with him on a regular basis. We met weekly with him and really updating him on the story. He would update us on what he was thinking for the songs. And every time, we got I would call it a little gift from him in our inbox where he would send us the song. We're like, oh, what is it? And so it was such a great relationship, and really being able to collaborate with him, because it's a lot of back and forth. He would have ideas on the stories, Byron and Jared and Charisse would have ideas on the songs, and it was such a great we had such a because Byron and Jared and Lin-Manuel were working together for so long, and they took the trip together. We had such a great collaborative relationship.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we should all jump in and talk. There's so many. Dos Oruguitas, which is a song that Lin wrote. It's toward the end of the film. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful, simple, wonderful song. He said when he wrote it, he wanted it to feel like a folk song that had been around forever, like a song that you'd hear sung in the streets. But it's so beautiful and simple and tender, and it speaks so personally to what the Madrigals have endured and why they're a family and what this miracle was all about. And this idea of transformation and the imagery that he put in there was so great. It's also, he said, it's the one song he's written from beginning to end only in Spanish. And he really wanted to push himself to express that. We love that it's in Spanish. No matter where you are in the world, it's in Spanish in the movie. And we absolutely love that about that song.
I really love Mirabel's song. That's a particular favorite of mine. Her song, Waiting on a Miracle. I just love how vulnerable it is. I love how different it feels for a Disney heroine song. She's really kind of sharing this hurt part of herself with us. And that song really just makes me immediately feel for her as a character and really empathize with what she's going through. So for me, I love all the songs in the movie. I truly do. But that one is really special, I think.
Yeah, and for me, I got to say, we don't talk about Bruno. I love it so much. It is the song right in the middle of the movie where all of our characters sing it. We have 12 main characters. They all get to sing it. It is unbelievable choreography. It is one of the craziest musical numbers we've ever tried to put in a Disney movie. So for me, we don't talk about Bruno is my favorite.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think emotion is an important part of storytelling, and we don't want to go to a movie and cry. We don't want to do that in front of other people. But I think the key is it's what means we fell in love with the story and the characters. And so when people ask the question and say, "What is it in a Disney animated film that you think defines a Disney animated film?" I say, well, there's always going to be great comedy, and if it's a musical, there'll be incredible music. But at the end of the day, if we've done our job right, and I think it's the thing we focus on, getting people to emotionally connect to the characters, taking those characters to a point where you're really feeling deeply what they're experiencing it, so you're experiencing it too in the theater, means that you will probably watch the movie more than once. Hopefully you'll watch it over and over again, and that's really our goal from the very beginning. So as much as I'm sorry we made you cry, it really is kind of our goal. We're sitting there saying we got to get to that place, and if we don't get there, because we screen these movies a lot as we're making them, and our people internally will say to us, "I'm not feeling it yet," and you're like, "Okay, well, we haven't gotten there. We have to get to the place where other people are telling us what you just said."
Oh yeah,
we better.
We bet. We would love that. You know, it's one of the things I'll say, and this is a great compliment to Charisse and Jared with what they did with balancing the family, because we knew we wanted a dozen characters on screen, and to be able to make sure everybody is distinct was pretty remarkable on the screenwriter's part. And also our voice cast, both in Spanish and the English version, are just so distinct and wonderful. And yeah, I would watch a movie about any one of those dozen people. They're all so interesting and great and wonderful. And I also think pairing people up, like I love Peppa and Felix as a couple. I love the dads, Felix and Augustine, the goofy dads as a couple, and the sisters, and they're all, I would watch something about any one of them. So yes, please, more.
Yeah.
Good.
Mirabel, una entrega. Te traje el especial ya que eres la única madrigal sin un don. Le llamo el especial no especial, ya que no tienes un don.
Gracias.
Colombia.
¡Encanto! ¡Encanto!
Colombia.
Tenga o no un don mágico, yo también soy igual de especial que el resto de mi familia.
¿Quién quiere más rosa? Oigan, chicos, ¿dónde tiro la carreta?
Tal vez tu don es vivir en negación.
Ugh.